For most of an institution's history, the board's relationship to its technology has been kept at arm's length. Technology was a matter of operation and expenditure overseen through budgets and audits, but seldom something the board governed in its own right. Agentic systems change that, and not because directors are now expected to understand the technology. They change it because the technology now takes actions in the institution's name, and the board has always been answerable for what is done in the institution's name. The reason is that these systems remove the step the board used to rely on. When software produced information for people to act on, accountability rested with those people. An autonomous system closes that gap. It does not inform a decision and wait. It makes the decision and acts, often faster than any committee meets. The question of what authorized the institution to act that way can no longer be settled by pointing to a person. It is settled by pointing to the terms the institution set in advance, and those terms are a matter of governance, which makes them a matter for the board. By the end of this module, you will be able to define what a board can and cannot delegate and brief it on what actually matters. The board's part in this is not to run the systems, design them, or approve how they work. That is management's responsibility, and a board that drifts into it has mistaken its role. The board's part is to oversee the terms on which the institution allows any system to act on its behalf, what such a system may do, within what limits, against what risks, and who answers when it does something the institution must account for. A board that treats agentic systems as purely operational beneath its attention has made the opposite mistake, and the more consequential one. None of this changes the nature of a board's duties. It changes their reach. Oversight that was sufficient when technology advised decisions is not automatically sufficient when technology makes them. In practice, the board's oversight rests on a few things it has to see and shape: whether the institution has deliberately decided what its systems may do on their own, whether the risk of letting them has been weighed and accepted by people with the authority to accept it, and whether honest evidence reaches the top that the controls are actually holding. In our example, the board of Mithras Bank does not configure the release agent or set its thresholds. What it has to know is whether the bank has decided where the line between automated and human authority falls, who set that line, and what happens when it is reached. That is an oversight question, and it does not become a smaller one because the subject is technical. Delegation is the oldest move in management. The institution gives work to someone able to do it, sets the boundaries, and holds that person to account for the result. Agentic systems extend the move to machines. The work is handed to a system that can carry it out inside limits at speed. What does not extend and cannot is the accountability. A system can be given the task. It cannot be given the answer for how the task turns out. You can delegate a great deal of what surrounds an agentic system: the building of it, the running of it, the design of its controls, and the countless decisions it makes each day. What you cannot delegate is the decision to let a system make those decisions at all, the limits within which it may, and the responsibility for what follows. 3 decisions in particular resist being handed down. One is the institution's appetite for risk from systems that act on their own, how much exposure it will carry, and where the line falls between what a system may settle for itself and what a person must decide. That cannot be left to the team that builds or benefits from the system, because the question is not whether the thing can be done, but whether the institution should, and how far. Closely bound to it is the grant of autonomy itself. Allowing a system to act without a person in the moment changes how the institution operates and where its risks sit. That is not a procurement or engineering choice to be settled quietly inside a project. And the third is accountability for the result. When an autonomous system does something the institution must answer for, the system did it will not serve, and neither will the vendor built it or the team configured it. Someone has to be answerable by name and by rule, settled before the action rather than discovered after it. The pressure in every case runs toward delegating these two. They sound technical, and the institution that leaves them unresolved moves faster. But a decision avoided at the top is not a decision unmade. It is a decision made by default, lower down by people who have neither the authority nor the vantage to make it for the whole institution. A board that declines to decide what its systems may do has not escaped the responsibility. It has only arranged to meet it unprepared. So, the governing line of this module is plain and unforgiving. Work can be delegated to a system. Accountability for it cannot. If accountability stays at the top has to be equipped to exercise it. What a board genuinely needs to know is next.